Hi friends, welcome
Hi,
back.
friends.
Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, the name is Sajo. Thank you for joining me. This is Jamal. Yes, it's mommy Sajo and baby Jamal. Thank you for joining us. I hope you'll be sticking around. Please go ahead and hit the subscription button. Also hit the notification bell so you know when my next video is up. If you're returning, I'm truly grateful for you. Thank you very much for kicking it with your girl again. Today's video is going to be a bit different. I was recently speaking to my husband and he mentioned the fact that he did not understand most of the words I said when I was describing fragrance. So I thought he might not be the only one. And therefore, today we're going to have a class. Okay, baby, are you going to let mommy finish this? You can go ahead and say bye, friends. Say bye, friends.
Bye, friends.
Good boy. Okay, come on, let's go now. Let's go to daddy. Like I was saying, my husband recently mentioned the fact that he did not understand most of the words I said when I was explaining my fragrance content. So I thought, instead of just keeping on with these words and people might not really understand, I'll break it down. As you all know, I'm not an expert in any way, form or shape. I'm just a girl who really loves her perfumes and loves talking about it. I want it to be very inclusionary in the content that I share, so I want to sort of just go through some of the words that we use a lot on this channel. Yeah, let the class begin. Okay, so first of all, I know we all come a lot across eau de parfum and eau de toilette and parfum and cologne, and it can be a bit confusing when you're buying your fragrance because the same fragrance can come in all these different forms. So I thought the first thing to do is just really explain a little bit about the difference in terms of what a parfum is, or the eau de parfum, eau de toilette versus a cologne. All this really is sort of the concentration of the fragrance. So it's the ratio of alcohol in relation to fragrance oil in a fragrance. So first of all, the pure parfum or extra de parfum, which is the only example I have at the moment. This is Maison Cardigan's 540 Baccarat Rouge 540. I've got the extra de parfum. This will be a lot stronger than the eau de parfum because this has a lot more perfume oil in it than a typical eau de parfum would. An extra de parfum or a pure perfume or pure parfum would typically have about 20 to 40% perfume oil in relation to alcohol. That means it will be a lot stronger, it will last longer on your skin and on your clothes than a typical eau de parfum would. I say typical a lot because some of these fragrances do act differently, but typically your extra de parfum or your parfum should do a better job than your eau de parfum because it should have more perfume oil in relation to alcohol instead fragrance. So that's number one. The second most concentrated one will be your eau de parfum. And this typically should have about 15 to 20% perfume oil. This is Dior Addict and this is an eau de parfum. This again should be good enough to do the job. It should last all day without needing reapplication typically of an eau de parfum. It should give you good longevity. It should project quite well and usually does tend to have a good sillage. Now, an eau de toilette will have a lot less perfume oil in comparison to the eau de parfum or the pure parfum. I say typically. This is an eau de toilette. This is Versace's Crystal Noir. Now, this is an eau de toilette, so technically it should perform less. It should last less. However, I do get quite a good performance from this, a good longevity. I can compare this to a lot of eau de parfums I have. Not all of my eau de parfums last quite as long as they should. Typically, it should give you a full day. Some of them only give me about a 4 hours skin worth. Some not even that. Versace's Crystal Noir does give me about 4 to 6 hours on my skin, and this is the eau de toilette. I found that when I tried it on, the eau de toilette and the eau de parfum performed quite closely. I did not get a great difference. Hence why I picked up the eau de toilette. I think this is probably one of maybe 2 or 3 eau de toilettes that I own. But yes, an eau de toilette typically has 5 to 10% perfume oil and will last a bit less than a typical eau de parfum or a pure parfum. Now, you then have your cologne, which typically only has about 2 to 4%. This will tend to need reapplication quite a lot during the day. It won't last as long as the other ones because it doesn't have quite as much perfume oil, so it wouldn't have as much depth. I don't own any colognes. However, I do own a Cologne Intense from Jo Malone. This is Mer and Tanka Cologne Intense. Now, this again is a weird one because colognes are not meant to last quite as long. However, this is a Cologne Intense. Again, even then, it shouldn't have as much perfume oil. This, though, lasts quite a long time on my skin. Again, I will explain why certain perfumes will last longer on your skin compared to someone else's skin, or how you can make perfume last a lot longer on your skin generally. But that's the difference. So that's where we've got a parfum or extrait de parfum, and then we've got eau de parfum, eau de toilette, and cologne. It's the perfume oil compared to the alcohol ratio. So a perfume or parfum, extrait de parfum will give you 20 to 40% perfume oil. Eau de parfum, 15 to 20%. Eau de toilette will give you 5 to 10%, and a cologne is usually anywhere between 2 to 4% perfume oil compared to alcohol ratio. Get that? Okay, perfect. So I speak a lot on performance of a fragrance. In performance, usually I'm talking about the sillage, I'm talking about the projection, and I'm talking about the longevity of a perfume. These are the three things that come together to tell you whether a perfume is a good performer or not. And this is a very key thing to look for when you're buying a perfume. You don't want to buy a fragrance that costs a lot and it doesn't have great sillage, or it doesn't have a good longevity, or it doesn't really project, because you want these things in a fragrance. These are the things that make a fragrance good. These are the things that make it have a good performance. Sillage is one of the words that my husband does not understand. He finds it really fascinating. He loves the word, but he doesn't get what it means. So I think we should start with sillage. So sillage, when I speak about sillage generally means the degree to which a perfume will permeate and linger in the air when it is worn. So if I wear a fragrance upstairs, for it to have a good sillage, you should be able to smell it when you come upstairs while I'm not in the room. So if I spray it on and leave the room and go somewhere else, for a certain amount of time, the fragrance should still linger in the room. You should still be able to smell it and know that I was in here. I have sprayed this certain perfume. It's generally for a fragrance that is your signature scent. If you wear something that people tend to know you by, if you leave the room and someone comes in and they can tell, oh, Saja was here, that's a fragrance that has a good sillage. That's a fragrance that's still lingering in a room when you're not there. People usually, when I wore Coco Mademoiselle to uni a lot, people were able to tell when I was coming in, because my fragrance will permeate in the air and they can tell, oh, Saja's somewhere around the corner. If I've left the room, my friends will be, it smells like Saja's been here, so they can still smell me. That's a fragrance that has a good sillage. Now, projection is a word that is usually confused with sillage. They tend to go hand in hand, I think, most of the time. Projection is just how far the fragrance can travel from your skin when you wear it. So if I'm in your presence and you're about arm's length from me and you can smell what I'm wearing, that is said to have a good projection. However, some perfumes will wear a lot closer to your skin. So for some fragrances, you have to be very much in my space to smell it. That is said to be skin scent. That is said to not have the greatest projection, but you can still smell it. You just need to be very close. I do have an example of one of the fragrances that I really, really adore, and this is Elie Saab's Girl of Now. I find that this does not project wildly, but I always get a compliment when someone's close to me. Recently, I wore it to get my vaccine, and the lady that was giving me the vaccine said, oh, you smell really lovely. What is that? And it's because she was in my space. That's only when I generally tend to have compliments with this one. I will have compliments with hubby because I wear it a lot on date nights when we're one-on-one. If we're going to a cinema where he's sitting next to me, if we're going to like a dinner date where we're close to each other, I will wear something that's skin scent because I can still get compliments from it. So generally, it's not a bad thing for a fragrance to not have great projection. It just means that you might have to pick and choose where to wear it. If I am in a huge crowd with someone, my perfume might get lost in the crowd if it doesn't have the best projection. because you can't smell it. If now that we're wearing masks a lot of people won't be able to smell you because we're keeping the 2 meter distance between us. So that's projection. Projection is just how far the scent will travel from your skin to other people in the air around you. How far will it travel? Is it arm's length? Is it farther apart? Or is it more skin scent? Do I have to be close to you to smell what you're wearing? So that's projection. Longevity, on the other hand, sort of explains itself. It's just how long would a fragrance last on your skin. Typically, this will have to do with sort of what level of perfume oil you have in the fragrance. So like I said, a parfum or an exterior parfum will have better longevity than a cologne, for example. However, as I've explained before, this is not always the case. Fragrances will smell different depending on certain things. And one of the biggest key factors, I think, on how a fragrance smells even, or just how long it lasts, is our body chemistry. So what a fragrance will smell on me is completely different to how it will smell on you. How long it will last on me is not generally the same as how long it will last on you, not necessarily. This just has to do with how my body chemistry will mix with the fragrance, how the fragrance projects, or how long it will last when I'm warmed up. These are things that differ from person to person. However, there are ways to make a fragrance last longer. Generally, fragrance will do well on a well moisturized skin. So dry skin, the perfume oil, it will stick and it will give you a few hours. However, it generally does not stick as much as it will do on a well moisturized skin. On an oily skin, fragrance tends to last longer because the perfume oil will stick to the oil and just really permeate from that. I don't have the most oily skin. My skin can be dry at times. So usually when I want a fragrance to last really long, I will layer it. I know a lot of you have asked for layering videos. That's a video on its own, and it's something I've only recently gotten into. And layering is a very complicated thing. It's a hit or a miss. So I will do a video on some of the layering combos that have worked for me, some that have not worked for me, and just generally what I tend to do in terms of layering. But for the purpose of this video, for a fragrance to last longer, I generally layer with like a scented lotion. One of my favorites is this is Ben Haglian's Halfeti. I did not buy the fragrance because I just find it a bit, I was trying to spend less. So I thought one of the ways I could smell like Halfeti without necessarily putting the fragrance on is getting the body lotion and the shower oil, which was cheaper than the fragrance. And I tend to layer, so I will layer the shower oil, I'll use that in the bath, and then I will have the lotion on my skin. But to really lock it all in, I use a body oil. At the moment, I just use Vaseline. I adore this thing. Obsessed. I use this so much. I think I've only been using this one for about a week or less, and there's like quite a good dent. I need a few backups. But this is really good, and in terms of just keeping your body moisturized without it being greasy or being too oily, it gives me a really nice glow, a nice sheen, especially in the summer when it's hot and we're wearing less and less. This gives you really nice sheen, a nice glimmer to your body. It keeps it very moisturized as well, and the perfume oil will stick to that really, really well. And then my perfume tends to come alive. So I will use a scented body wash. I use a scented body lotion, and then I go ahead and just apply the body oil all over my skin before I put a fragrance on it. And then it will last. It usually will last a really long time. Another trick is to be very aware of your placement. So I overspray. I'm not gonna lie, I spray a lot. But generally on my skin, I'll apply it on my pulse point. So I'll apply a spray or two on my wrist each. In the nook of my elbows, I will put some there because these are the places that I tend to get warm. And when I get warm, then the fragrance really comes alive. I'll apply a spray on the base of my neck. I usually do one on the back of my neck, especially if I'm going out on a date where he's going to be behind me, putting his I will apply one on the back of my neck, one each on the back of my knees. I don't know why. I mean, it leaves a good trail. when you're walking, especially when you're wearing something that's revealing your knees, when you walk by and the air sort of just blows, that leaves a good trail, and you can smell the perfume from a distance. I will also wear some on the back of my ears. Again, this is where I tend to get warm. Also, if you're going to be engaging in any hanky-panky, when you get kisses on your neck, you can really smell that, and I think it's a turn on. So yeah, these are the places I generally wear fragrance. I will spray those points on my skin, and then I'll get dressed and I'll spray a couple more on my clothes, just so I get a better coverage. And I find that when I overspray, my perfume tends to protect better, it tends to last longer, because obviously I have more fragrance on me. Another trick I've learned, it's important to know that obviously, like I said, I'm not an expert. These are all things that I've learned along my fragrance journey from other people. And one of the things that I've really picked up on, and I've been doing quite a lot, is when I have something like this on, when I have something that I'm showing a bit of cleavage, I will take a cotton ball and I will put a couple sprays of the perfume that I'm wearing, and I'll just tuck that in my bra. And what that does, especially again when you're on a date or when you're out with people, when I lean forward, that will just come out, that wafts out really nicely. And it's a way to make my perfume last longer. When it starts to sort of fade on my skin, the cotton ball will just soak that up, and it will last a really long time. So when I lean forward, you get a good dose of what I'm wearing. So that's it for the sillage, the projection, the longevity, so performance in general. I think I summed up the best I can. If you really don't understand, feel free to leave me a question in the comments, and I will get back to you. If it's something I don't know, I'm happy to do the research and get back to you. This is something I enjoy. I'm not an expert. It's just something I like talking about. So let's find out these things. Okay, moving on from performance, I talk about the notes a lot in my videos. I talk about what I get when the fragrance you first spray. So I speak on the opening, the heart, the base. The fragrance notes are just sort of the ingredients that are in the fragrance. So what scents are combined to make this one fragrance, and they tend to come in sort of a pyramid. So you have the top, or the opening, the beginning, which is what you generally will get once you spray. So for the first 15-20 minutes of spraying a perfume, you get the first few notes, you get the opening notes. This is sort of like when you meet someone, this is how you get to know them. So let's consider the opening, the getting to know each other. This is when you get to know the perfume. This again will typically last about anywhere between 5 and 20 minutes generally. You get the opening, the fresh, clean, whatever it is of the fragrance, what's to tell you at first. So the middle notes, or the hat notes, this is where the fragrance will reveal itself. This is where the character, so to speak, will come out. This is where we get to know the fragrance. So you've met the fragrance, they've told you a little bit about themselves. Now we're really getting in deep with the fragrance. We're getting to know this fragrance. This is where the heart is. And this will last anywhere up to an hour, maybe 2. You really get to enjoy these notes a little bit longer than the opening. They will present themselves. There tends to be more notes in the heart as well than the opening. It gets a bit more complex, and then you get to the dry down, or the base of the fragrance, and this is where the magic really happens. This is where the complexities come together. This is where you get a good number of fragrances just combined to make a lasting impression. So we've met the fragrance at the opening, we've gotten to know each other a little bit, we get to the heart, we reveal a little bit more about ourselves, and then at the base is where the fragrance reveals its secrets. It's deep, dark. Everything that the fragrance wants to tell you will come in the base. It's the complexities. For me, it's the most beautiful part of the fragrance. It's what I love about a lot of my fragrances. And it's the part that will last the longest. So with the base, you get anywhere between 4 to 6 hours, depending on what fragrance you're wearing. But it will really just tend to show you the most beautiful part, the most complex parts. It's where the fragrance really comes together to create this perfume that you love and you. Lastly, I wanted to quickly mention a fragrance family really that I speak on a lot. So fragrances will generally come in different families depending on their scent, the olfactory family that the fragrance is from. So you have your freshies, you have your oriental, I don't know why we still use that word, but you have your florals, and you have your fruity, you have your gourmands. And I speak on gourmands a lot because I am a huge gourmand lover, and I've mentioned before briefly that gourmand is something that smells quite edible. So gourmand in itself, I think, is a French culinary word. It just refers to fragrances that are almost edible with very edible notes. So it can be sweet, it can be fruity, but it's just notes on a fragrance and make it smell almost edible. Again, we'll go back to Ellie Saab's Girl of Now. This is your typical gourmand, and this is the pistachio almond milk balm. So when you spray this, all you get is pistachio and almond milk, and it smells incredibly edible. It smells very decadent. It smells like a dessert. It smells like a dessert. So that is what we mean by a gourmand. It's something that smells edible. Give me 1 second because Jamal's knocking down my door. So the next one is florals, and this is generally, oh, this should be fun. Yes, it should be fun. Are you gonna be quiet so mommy can finish? Something that smells like a flower, and it could be notes of rose, of peonies, of I don't know, orange blossom. Yeah, like that. That's a rose flower. Yeah, so fragrances that tend to be in the floral family, or fragrances with notes of flowers, will be florals. Then you have your citrus family. These tend to be quite clean because citrus fragrances can be quite sharp, quite clean, and they're great for hot weather because they don't get cloying, they don't get too heavy, they don't tend to last quite as long as gourmands will, because gourmands are really sweet. I'm really sorry, but I'm gonna cut this one here. In a different video we'll speak about orientals, because I have a lot to say about oriental or the use of that word. So we'll speak about that. We'll speak about other fragrance families, but for now I'm gonna go and take care of this one that's disturbing us and not letting mommy finish a video. But thank you very much for hanging out with me. I hope you've learned a thing or two. Let me know in the comments if there's anything else that you would want to know. Say I love you, friends. He loves you, and I love you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you so much, and until next time, I've been Saja, he's been Jamal. Bye.